All right, good afternoon. I'm Sharon Holland, Deputy Vice President for External Affairs, and welcome to our 51st Anniversary Founders Day ceremony. Please stand for the arrival of the official party, followed by the national anthem sung by the USU Dermatones.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rang there, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Dermatones. Please be seated. We're very pleased to welcome you to today's ceremony celebrating the 51st anniversary of the university's founding on September 21st, 1972. I'd like to take a moment to recognize our distinguished guests, Lieutenant General retired Ron Blank, former Army Surgeon General and former USU Board of Regents Chair, President Emeritus Dr. Charles Rice, retired Lieutenant General Douglas Robb, and our many USU leaders. Thank you all for being here. I'd like to introduce our speakers for today's ceremony. Their biographies are listed in your program that I forgot to give you. Sorry about that. Dr. Jonathan Woodson, President, Uniformed Services University. Major General John J. DeGoes, Deputy Surgeon General of the United States Air Force and Space Force, and a proud class of 1989 alumnus. And Dr. Leon Moores, President of the USU Alumni Association and proud class of 1998 alumnus. I'd like to now invite President Woodson to the podium.
Well, good afternoon. It's always a great day to celebrate our legacy and reflect on all for being here. That might even be better, huh? We've got a lot to be proud of, so good afternoon. Today, we pay tribute to our students, staff, faculty, strategic partners, and supporters who, over the past 51 years, have worked to ensure the success of this unique and exciting educational institution. And I want to recognize Chip Rice here, President Emeritus, who for many of those years was leadership and moved the university into the future. Thank you, Chip, for being here. Let's give him a round of applause. We also recognize our alumni, many of whom are here today, and we had a huge contingent from the class of 1983, and they must have been so enthralled with what's going on in the campus that they haven't found their way yet to this ceremony. But they will be here. I had spent an hour with them this morning, and boy, they were enthusiastic, asked good questions, and clearly remain in support of the university. So we are happy that they are part of today's set of activities. But we recognize alumni, many of whom are here with other classes as well, whose leadership and incredible contributions to medicine, nursing, dentistry, allied health sciences, and public health, and health education and health policy continue to serve as an inspiration to the future generations of students who are currently on the campus and in our programs. Among those key leaders today is our guest speaker, Air Force Major General John J. DeGoes. Major General DeGoes is the Deputy Surgeon General of the United States Air Force and Space Force. Go Guardians, right? He directs operations for the Air Force Medical Service and executes a budget of $6.1 billion and oversees 40,000 person integrated health care system for the Air Force, serving 2.6 million beneficiaries at 76 military treatment facilities worldwide, while also directing, supporting the $42 billion Defense Health Program portfolio. He oversees the daily functions of the Air Force Surgeon General's offices in Washington, D.C., Fort Detrick, Maryland, Falls Church, Virginia, and San Antonio, Texas. So what does the Surgeon General do while you're doing all that kind of work? Traveling, huh? Major General DeGoes graduated magna cum laude, Phi Beta Kappa from Boston College. Go Boston, right? And in 1985, received a direct commission to attend Uniformed Services University, where he graduated Alpha Omega Alpha in 1989. So outstanding credentials and clearly superior qualities, academic qualities. He is the chief physician and flight surgeon in the Air Force, obviously. He is board certified in internal medicine, a fellow of the American College of Physicians, and certified physician executive. He's held a number of key command assignments throughout his career. Among them is a coveted 59th Medical Wing at Lackland Air Force Base, Texas, the 99th Medical Group at Nellis Air Force Base, Nevada, 1st Medical Group at Langley Air Force Base, Virginia, and the 31st Medical Operations Squadron at Aviana Air Base, Italy. That must have been tough duty, huh? Okay, all right. He served as the CEO of the Mike O'Callahan Federal Medical Center, a joint venture between the Air Force and the Department of Veterans Affairs in Southern Nevada healthcare system, where he was responsible for the operation of a 104-bed hospital with a combined eligible user population of more than 320,000. Additionally, Major General DeGoes served as command surgeon for both the United States Air Force Central Command and North American Aerospace Defense Command, U.S. Northern Command. Please give a warm welcome to Major General DeGoes.
Thank you, Dr. Woodson. Too kind. Good afternoon, President Woodson, Dr. Moores, Dean Elster, distinguished guests, Dr. Rice. Being in this auditorium with your name on it, it's really an honor. And to the university, I love what you've done with the place in the last 35 years. Distinguished guests, Lieutenant General Robb, General Blank, members of the Board of Governors, leadership here, graduates, those online. And I don't know, are there any students here? I mean, the centrifugal force of the weekend pulls very strong. I know it did when I was here. And, it was, do I go to Dr. Joy's lecture or do I start the weekend? And Dr. Joy won most of the time. It's an honor to participate in USU's Founders Day at my thriving alma mater, which has added graduate schools of nursing, dentistry, allied health, and multiple other research programs since I graduated from America's Medical School in the 10th class in 1989. So 38 years ago, in August of '85, I arrived at this beautiful campus without any military experience, save for a few weeks at Maxwell Air Force Base in Montgomery, Alabama, in a health profession officer indoctrination course where prospective doctors learn how to put on a uniform, salute, march, give a briefing with butcher paper on an easel before PowerPoint was invented. I wanted to be a doctor, to be a successful doctor, but at the time I did not understand the context, importance, and absolute necessity of also being a competent military officer if I was to become a successful military physician, never mind being a leader of any military medical organization. I believe the first 2 years here at USU really set the tone of what was required to be a successful military medical professional. And while there was the standard preclinical classwork with outstanding faculty like Dr. Pangaro, who's here, the material was presented through a lens of learning to care for those in harm's way. And sometimes it wasn't the faculty, it was just listening to classmates, the almost 50% of mine who had prior service, who had been there and done that. Special Forces, Ranger, combat medics, fighter and heavy pilots, and multiple other officer and enlisted career fields before coming to USU. It was those classmates who made me a better second lieutenant and who influenced my decision in the summer after completing the first year to jump out of perfectly good airplanes and earn these airborne wings. And frankly, completing the prerequisite pre-airborne training here at USU was more difficult than Fort Benning. I was also able to attend Air Force's Arctic survival training, and these opportunities which USU gave me provided early context to understand the people and the missions that I would go on to serve. Had I chose a different pathway to enter military medicine, I certainly would have been less well prepared to enter a military internship or as a junior staff member directly assessed. USU also ensured optimal clinical rotations at the best hospitals military medicine had to offer. Walter Reed Army Medical Center, the Bethesda Naval Hospital, Wilford Hall United States Air Force Medical Center, Brooke Army Medical Center, to name just a few. The USU clerkship directors ensured only the best attendings had the privilege to supervise our students and me, and mentors like Colonel Louis Pangaro, Colonel Jay Higgs, Lieutenant Colonels Charles Chuck Nolan, Ramon Arroyo, Steve Durdak, Matt Dolan, to name a few, were why I became an internist and really shaped the physician that I would become. And before I continue, let me make a quick mention of a current military health system challenge. And the military treatment facilities I just mentioned that I trained in have changed significantly, and some don't even exist anymore. With closures, mergers occurring frequently over the last 20 years, and a significant decrease in inpatient volume and complexity at most training facilities, with the exception of BAMC, Brooke Army Medical Center, addressing this challenge, I believe, is key to the health of military medicine and generating combat-ready medics for the future, as well as caring for all of our beneficiaries. It directly affects medical student, graduate medical education, as well as nursing and technician education and their readiness. While I continue to wear this uniform, in partnership with sister service medical leaders, the DHA, and the university, I intend to focus on improving the Air Force's support of the direct care system, that is the care within our MTFs. And this will improve the military health system's quadruple aim, better health, better care, best value, and readiness of the medics and those we serve. And most importantly, a strengthened military health system delivering more care in its major teaching hospitals will facilitate better prepared medics when our nation needs them most. And I know that Assistant Secretary of Defense for Health Affairs, Dr. Martinez Lopez, concurs with this, as do Dr. Woodson and Dean Elster. So leadership lessons, they abounded throughout my time at USU. Every Friday afternoon was a special treat with the history of military medicine from Colonel retired Robert J.T. Joy, or whether it was from our commandant at the time, Colonel Craig Llewellyn, a Vietnam decorated special ops medic leader, or multiple guest lecturers brought in to share military medical lessons that would prove beneficial to me in the future. And I remember well one in the Sanford Auditorium, before it was named after then Dean Sanford, Israeli Brigadier General Eran Dolev explained in preventive medicine as how he was a junior officer, how he made Israeli troops drink water by the numbers in the 1973 Battle of the Sinai, and preventing dehydration and disease non-battle injury was a key to the Israeli victory. And so I am grateful to USU for providing me and thousands more an unparalleled foundation in military medical education in the classroom and in the field. It's made a difference throughout my career, and undoubtedly is one of the reasons I'm speaking to you today as the Air Force's Deputy Surgeon General. And I believe the Louis Pasteur quote is apt in that chance favors the prepared mind. And this has certainly been true throughout my career. And the preparation started here at USU. And over time, learning to gain enough confidence, which started here, to capitalize on future opportunities. I tended to volunteer often. One other recommendation I would say to the students, if there's any that'll listen to this, is to get the most of your USU experience and your military medical career, as I'd say, keep learning, keep reading once you graduate. At Walter Reed, Dr. Pangaro challenged us, his medical student Padawans, to read 2 hours every night. And while I frequently couldn't keep that pace, and certainly family and work-life balance are key, one has to prioritize. And I'm the father of 25-year-old triplets, so there was a bunch of balancing and prioritizing. Audiobooks, whether medical or otherwise, is one of the ways I've squeezed in more learning and maximized time in traffic, long-distance running, and time in travel status. And the point is, an average graduate may bypass their peers with continued compound learning at a higher rate than their higher-ranking classmates at graduation. And this goes for improving both clinical and leadership skills in my experience. And Einstein was said to have stated that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world, or when your interest is making interest. And I believe the same compounding growth can occur with continuous lifelong learning, and will suit you all well in the dual profession of military medicine. Just a couple of words on the value that I see of the Uniformed Services University to the military health system as the Deputy Surgeon General. And in short, given the National Defense Strategy, peer competition, kind of taking the fore from the global war on terrorism, and the implications of great power competition, the USU's mission of being the Department of Defense's leading healthcare educational institution, producing research in support of the U.S. warfighter and improving the health of the DoD community, seems to me to be more important than ever right now. And the innovative research, I think, is particularly important as our nation is likely to face increasing fiscal challenges, which will create budgetary pressures on all aspects of the military health system. The research and development here at USU and within the services will need to improve healthcare outcomes efficiently, whether in garrison or in combat. I believe what we need is what our air combat innovators have recently described, and it was in a New York Times article, I think, last week. They described as affordable mass. And when they were describing flanking F-35s with multiple relatively inexpensive drones linked by software and aided by artificial intelligence. Fifth-generation fighters, military medics, both are expensive, and we can't afford as many as we would like. And so to succeed in the future, we'll have to change from what worked in the past, and I believe we will also need affordable medical mass. In garrison and in contingency, and so maybe with local decision support and reach back when the electromagnetic spectrum allows in a peer competition high-end fight. No easy problems, but I could see, a PCM in the future flanked by artificial intelligence, robot PCMs, and having the same kind of problems that our warfighters are dealing with, how much autonomy to give that drone that's kind of linked to the F-35 in our exam rooms of the future. But I believe USU will continue the DoD healthcare, to be the DoD healthcare educational leader and an innovative partner with the service SGs and the Defense Health Agency to develop effective and efficient medical mass required in peace and any future contingency. So in closing, on Founders Day and every day, I am proud to be a graduate of America's Medical School, and I am more confident today that USU is even better prepared to produce the military medical leaders required for any future challenge. Thank you, and God bless USU.
So, General, I love it when you talk dirty. I mean, futuristic. We're there with you. There's no doubt about it. But hearing your speech and understanding your history says everything about why USU is here. You don't develop strategic leaders like yourself that understand the complexity of the environment, the inter-service possibilities, without a place like this to provide the foundation. So thank you so much for being here. And I just want to call out at this point, if you look at the current senior leadership, medical across the services, the current nominated acting Navy Surgeon General is a USU grad. The Joint Staff Surgeon is a USU grad. The immediate past Joint Staff Surgeon was a USU grad. Your boss, the Air Force Surgeon General, is a USU grad. And I'm missing one other. General Crossland, the Defense Health Agency Director, is a USU grad. So that says a lot. And I think everyone combined needs to hearken back to this foundation and in terms of a joint education as we look forward to solving the problems of the future. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for those extraordinary words and sharing some of your vision. And we just want to give you a little...
Dr. Woodson, you're up.
Well, again, fantastic afternoon, and we will have to find the class of 1983. I don't know where they're at. They may have already gone to the bar or something like that. So, whatever it is. So again, Major General DeGoes, thank you so much for your insightful remarks and for joining us here today to celebrate this 51st anniversary. Uh, Reflecting on my first year here at USU, I'm struck with the significant changes in the Department of Defense and Healthcare. Our community, comprising students, faculty, staff, and alumni, have consistently demonstrated adaptability and defining trait of, which is a defining trait of our university, and I think you've alluded to that, and we need much more of that kind of innovative spirit to guide us into the future. Adaptability is ingrained in our history. We began as a small school of medicine and expanded to include the nursing, dental, and allied health science programs, as you've mentioned. And change is really woven into our DNA. It's got to be part of what we are as we advance military medicine. USU's evolution continues, evidenced by our multiple schools, centers, programs, and initiatives. Change is a sign of progress and growth. The key to our future lies in adaptability, including the involvement in military health system-wide initiatives led by Dr. Martinez Lopez, the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Health Affairs. And he has put the university on point for several of these. These initiatives involve drafting a strategic plan for the military health system, assessing the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center to address those issues that you've talked about, General DeGoes, developing a digital health transformation strategy and hosting a digital health summit that's going to bring members from the tech industry, health systems that are dealing with digital transformation, internal assets together to think about what the right way to go is in terms of digital health transformation. All of these are crucial to adapting to today's healthcare environment, its complexity, and its ever-changing nature. In addition to addressing the life cycle management of health professions education and the requirements that the military health system will have across the enterprise. We're also addressing Congress's reports requirement, examining the feasibility of consolidating training and education, of developing an enterprise consolidated training and education directorate, piloting the National Disaster Medical System, and studying the behavioral health workforce that is required for the future of the MHS. Adaptability has been our guiding principle, steering us through the shifting landscape. In our rapidly evolving world, institutions like USU must keep pace. We have not only kept pace with the changes, but often led innovation, from integrating digital health technologies into our curriculum to adapting our medical programs. Digital health technologies, telemedicine, data analytics, and AI are now integral to healthcare, and I suspect that's what's going to rock our world in the next 2 to 3 years. USU equips students with the knowledge and skills to excel in this dynamic environment and solve problems, as General DeGoes is an example of. The world needs healthcare leaders who can innovate and navigate the digital age and improve its relevance to the future. And USU is committed to producing these innovators. Speaking of leaders and innovators, today marks the start of Alumni Weekend, and with special recognition for the classes of 1983, who's still lost somewhere, 1993, 2003, and 2013. A number of our graduates from those classes and other classes are here on the campus somewhere now. All of them are vital to our adaptability, nurturing engagement with our current students, and I want to strengthen this connection between our alumni. I had a really good discussion this morning with the class of 1983, who told me about some of their ventures post being in uniform, but clearly showed the qualities of committed leaders that were trying to change healthcare and medicine, not only here in the United States, but overseas in many, many cases. In the near future, we'll be sending to alumni a questionnaire to gauge their feedback and insights, and I hope that they'll take time to respond to help guide our efforts going forward. We also plan to recognize all of their contributions and highlight their career accomplishments, as I've just talked about, through video recordings that will play throughout the campus, but also be part of our campaign going forward. There's going to be the reinitiation of the Graduate of the Quarter spotlight in our campus to display these nets, if you will, and we're creating and adapting our alumni outreach to begin to organize the 12,000 alumni that we now have into a more effective force to support the university. They are really our connective tissue between our past and our present, and they can serve to energize our students to do great things in the future. Looking ahead, other ambitious long-range goals include capital investment project for a welcome center here at USU as part of telling our story, but also as part of our recruitment and retention effort. As we bring individuals on campus, we want to showcase, in fact, our legacy and what bright futures they can have. We asked our alumni to share their successes so that we can highlight them in these displays and inspire, again, our future students and our current students to great heights. In forging the bridge between the past and the present, we aspire to establish a lasting legacy for our university, one that exemplifies the university's adaptability as we pioneer toward a brighter and healthier future. I'm reminded about the significance of the university and how it's being recognized in all quarters. When General McConville was here recently, he talked about the university being the West Point. No offense to Colorado. There's, Doc Robb just shaking his head. No offense to Colorado Springs or to Annapolis. He was an Army guy, so what do you expect, right? Talked about the university being the West Point for military health professions. And in that, of course, he was talking about producing that foundation for developing great strategic leaders to support what is necessary for the national military and defense strategies. So our future is bright. There is no doubt about it. The challenges are great. There's no doubt about that. But with the talent we have, both in terms of our alumni, the talent that we have on the stage in terms of the alumni you see here, we are up to solving many of the complex problems that plague not only the military health system, but the nation at large, and in many ways contributing to improving the health of many nations that we interact with. So thank you all for being an integral part of this transformative journey. I'm genuinely excited about USU's promising future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Woodson. Dr. Leon Moores graduated from USU in 1990. Dr. Moores is a specialty care physician, board certified in pediatric neurological surgery at Innova Health System. He spent much of his career serving in combined clinical and leadership roles. Infantry lieutenant at 82nd Airborne. I knew you were going to do that. Never mind. Dr. Moores?
Hi, thank you. I always say I got to keep my mom from writing these introductions, and she doesn't seem to stop, so thank you. Love you.
Thank you, Mom.
So it was, anyway, Mom. Thanks very much for the invitation. It's really a great honor to be here to represent those 12,000 plus alumni. Always great to get back on campus. Distinguished guests, want to start a little, let's get the blood flowing a little bit. Everybody who's been associated with USU more than 5 years, stand up, please, if you're able and willing. Gotta be. So I realized 51 years, I was a graduate in 1990. I was accepted first in 1983 and then did my government-sponsored Outward Bound program with the 82nd Airborne Division before coming back. So 40 years out of 51, okay? How many people have been, if you remain standing, if you're more than 10 years affiliated with the school, with the university? More than 20. More than 30. More than 40.
1981.
1982.
Oh, you're still standing as
Yes.
well. All right, look at that. All right, well, thanks for indulging me on that. I thought it would be an interesting little demographic to point out. As an update, not a solicitation, any of the attorneys in here, the Alumni Association is approaching $500,000 in the endowment. We're very excited to report on our way to hopefully many millions, which will then be dispersed to support student activities, research, teaching, publications, faculty in ways that can't be funded through regular means. Again, just an update. Nothing controversial. But I do have an ask, and it has nothing to do with that. There's a lot of talk recently, I'm thinking, what do we talk about with this audience? All those hundreds of thousands of people that are undoubtedly watching online right now, as well as the group in here, forms a pretty diverse crew. And in a few talks that I've given recently, as you get near the end of your career, at least on the downslope of your career, you start thinking about bigger thoughts maybe. A lot of information out now about burnout, healthcare in crisis, healthcare challenges that workers face, exacerbated, if anything, by COVID, but in some ways made us stronger, like shared difficult experiences can do. No question that the regulatory environment, the electronic medical record, all of these things, and practicing physicians every day, nurses, technicians, weigh on your ability to enjoy your job. So my ask is that we all contribute in some way to restoring the joy of medicine, and you can do that internally. You can do that with your peers. I'll give you a little example here in a sec. One of the things that we have a tendency to do, and I've seen this over and over and over again, and I've done it hundreds of times myself, is forget what we do. It becomes routine. It's another day at the office. And we focus on the challenges, whether in my world, in the private sector, it's salaries and benefits, or whether it's the electronic medical record that I mentioned before and should mention like 8 times because that's usually the number one reason people say they're leaving medicine. None of that is going away, right? But when we don't balance that with some reflection on the truly wondrous things that we accomplish in healthcare, if we look back historically, I talked to a group of pediatricians this morning. Children were dying of things that we don't even think twice about treating today. Infant mortality, maternal mortality, these numbers have plummeted. To us, it's another day at the office. I got to see 15 more kids before lunch. But if you stop and think the impact that you've had on those lives, what we've done with healthcare in this country and globally, and you say, wow, it's actually pretty cool what I do. Occasionally we get that feedback, right, from patients and families who give us a great note or give us a big hug and say, we will always remember you. But it's not necessarily enough. But we can, and as we teach the next generation, encourage them to say, hey, at the end of every day, a couple times a day, think back and say, how many lives did I change today? And that doesn't matter if you're in the clinic, in the OR, at the bench, teaching, you're doing that too. You're contributing that way all the time. As a president and CEO of groups, I would walk into our finance office and say, thanks for taking care of patients today. And they go, what? I'd say, no, we can't do it without you. Everybody in the organization contributes. In the Army, we had a saying, and probably the other services do too, I just don't necessarily know it, pardon my French, but if soldiers aren't bitching, they're not happy. And I think that applies to doctors as well, certainly surgeons in my experience. So and here's the little vignette. I was hanging out with one of my colleagues the other day, and he had just done a 6-level spinal fusion on a gentleman who was in a car accident, belted, but just shredded the lower part of the spinal column. Subsequently, did well, walked out of the hospital, right? The only thing he could talk about after doing that incredibly complex 7-hour operation in this wicked trauma patient was that there was a 30-minute delay in starting his case. I said, wake up. You literally just saved this person's, if not life, their way of life, right? And so that's a little bit of what we can do for ourselves and for others, and commend to you as, you know, as we go forward into the future to not necessarily think that all of this chaff is going to go away. We're still going to have to deal with that, but gosh, it's amazing what we do for patients every day here and across the country and across the globe. So thanks again for the invitation. Keep doing what you do.
Thank you, Dr. Morris. This concludes our ceremony. On behalf of the entire USU community, I'd like to once again thank Major General DeGoes, Dr. Morris, and Dr. Woodson for speaking today. I'd also like to thank all of you who have taken the time out of your busy schedules to join us to celebrate this anniversary. Let's hope we find the class of 1983. And last, I ask that you join me in a round of applause for the many behind-the-scenes organizers in MDL, IT, UMS, VPE, logistics, and the front office who happened to put together today's events. So please join us in the Hall of Flags for refreshments, and please take the time to view our outstanding School of Medicine research posters that are on display. Thank you all for coming.